Aloha. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk Energy, our new series where we're exploring all things energy on Maui, Molokai and Lanai. I'm Kau'i'owai Dixon with Maui Electric, your host for today's show. In our new monthly series, we'll discuss what goes into powering our islands 24/7, while also working to constantly balance reliability, renewable energy, and keeping costs as low as we possibly can. A new episode will air on the first Tuesday of every month at 8 p.m. right here on Akaku Channel 55, with each new series rebroadcast every Tuesday thereafter. We want to hear from you. Your feedback is important. If you've got a comment, a question, if you've got a great topic for a future show, go ahead and email us, letstalkenergy@mauielectric.com. One of the reasons we put together this Let's Talk Energy series is to, in a sense, provide an energy 101 to our customers. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about how power is generated here on Maui, Molokai and Lanai. We'll also be taking a look at outages, specifically the recent outage we experienced here on Maui on March 2nd, as well as what we're doing to power Maui County with more renewable energy resources. So joining me today is Matt McNeff, our Manager of Power Supply, and John Maury, who basically heads up our operations at our Molokai power plant. So essentially, the task of providing electricity to our customers starts with generation, and in a sense, starts with these gentlemen right here. Matt, John, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So first things first, let's start with electricity basics. So we provide power to about 70,000 customers here on Maui, Molokai and Lanai, countywide. Matt, we hear this quite often from customers. Simple. So where does the electricity come from? Where does power come from?
Sure. So at the power plants, we take the energy that's contained within liquid fuel, and we use that and convert it into electrical energy for distribution to everyone's house. We do that through three main technologies. We have boilers that use steam to power a generator. We have internal combustion engines, similar to the engine that's in your car or truck. And then we have combustion turbines that are similar or exactly like the engines on the airplanes we ride to the mainland. And then we also purchase electricity from non-firm sources such as solar, wind, and hydro.
Thanks, Matt. So John, one of the things that we provide to our customers and, to the general public out there is kind of giving them an inside look at operations. And the way we do that is we actually provide power plant tours at our Molokai power plant. So that being the case, oftentimes we get asked, various questions because it is a complex thing of providing power. What does it mean, the term standalone electric system? What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so generally when we talk standalone electric system is we have no interconnection to another grid. So that really describes Maui and really all islands in Hawaii. So what it really comes down to is if we do have issues on our grid, the solution has to come from our grid. We don't have the support like the mainland where California may support Oregon if Oregon has a problem on their grid.
Okay, so we are isolated. Yeah, we are islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Very, very different from the continental mainland United States, where, as you said, grids are actually connected. They kind of have that backup, so to speak, right? There are terms. There's a term called firm generation and then as available generation. Give us a little bit of, what do those mean? How are they different?
Yeah, so as Matt said, Malaya is an example of firm generation. So essentially, firm generation is when we need it, we can press a button, it'll come on, and in general, it'll run for as long as we require it. So that's why we call it firm. The other term we use is called as available. So that type of energy is generally available, or it's contingent on another resource. So if you want wind energy, you need wind. If you want solar, it has to be sunny. So it becomes an as available as the resource is available.
Right. So basically, firm, basically there when we need it. Turn on a switch, it's always there. As available, little different. Wind's not always blowing, the sun's not always shining, so it's not necessarily always there. That's the as available side of the coin, correct? Okay, so Matt, so with these as available resources like wind and solar that are not necessarily always there, there's some very lofty goals that we have as a state to get ourselves away from fuel, away from the imported cost of fuel, protect our environment, and keeping it as clean as we possibly can, while also balancing the cost, because it is going to come at a cost. We've had to make some changes when it comes to how we operate our plants and how we operate our generating units. And I know that we've done several things throughout the past few years to get to a point where we can actually accept as much wind as we possibly can. So on the island, we've got 72 megawatts of wind currently. Over at Kahiava, which is our West Maui side, and then also East Maui in the area of Ulupaliko Ranch. So tell us a little bit about some of those changes, some of those shifts, some of the transformation that goes on at the plants for us to be able to just take on more of that clean energy as available energy.
Oh, sure. So some of the things we've been doing at the power plants is that we have been working to lower the minimum output of our own generators. So at any given time, a generator has a minimum that it can't go below, but the higher that minimum is, potentially the less as available resources you might be able to take when they are available. So we've been working to lower those minimums. We've also been working to increase the flexibility of the units. As John alluded to, as availables come and go as the sun and the wind are available. So we've been increasing our ability of our units to ramp up or to increase their output or to decrease accordingly. They say wind always needs a dance partner, and our units are sort of like that dance partner. We've been teaching them to dance better. And then we've also been looking at our operational practices to make sure that we're not being too conservative. We need to really tighten things up to make sure that we are accepting the most amount of renewables that we can. And last year we accepted about 94% of the wind. We have lofty goals, as you mentioned, of being even ahead of the state's RPS mandate. Maui Electric ourselves, we want to be 100% renewable by 2040.
Yes, so we are leading the nation in incorporating renewable energy. And with a state mandated goal, as you said, of 100% by 2045, we're also the first to see some of those real challenges on the system when it comes to really balancing it all. Again, folks, it's about clean energy as much as we possibly can by 2045, preferably, of course, 100%. It's about, of course, cost, and making it as affordable as we possibly can for our customers. But the bottom line is keeping it affordable, reliable, so that it's there when you need it. So there, it's trailblazing work. John, so, how has it been to have to change at this rate of speed?
Yeah, so I guess the challenge we face right now is that, or one of the challenges is that we're still responsible to run the grid, provide reliable electricity as well as cost-effective electricity. At the same time, we've also been tasked with kind of migrating the grid and our systems to the state's energy target. So I think maybe a good example of that would be the state. Their target is equivalent to, I think, if you're to drive your car, their target is letting us run the car at 60 miles an hour, and what we're tasked with is to work on the car while it's doing 60 miles an hour down the road, and still get you there in one piece.
Yeah, so folks, if you can, visualize that. That can be a challenge, but we're doing as much as we can, as quickly as we possibly can, but doing it reasonably, and reliably. Matt, John, thanks so much for joining us today. Great 101 on generation, great discussion here. Up next, we are opening the doors to our dispatch operations, and so this is where, should you call in a trouble call, should there be an outage in your area or your home, you make that call in, And basically what you'll see is dispatch operations. This is where your calls come through, and this is where we start the process of restoration.
Aloha, my name's Eddie Kim. Welcome to the Maui Electric Dispatch Office. This is where we handle all electrical issues for Maui County, Maui, Molokai, and Lanai. In the event that you're having an electrical issue, we will take your call here and dispatch the appropriate personnel to resolve your electrical problem. If you need to call Maui Electric, our phone number is area code 808-871-7777. Thank you.
There are no medals for doing your job, and a switch confirms that we were there. Our days are swift, the nights often long. We are a father, a mother, a son, and daughter. In any calm, in every storm, we'll be there to fill the darkness. It's in our bones. It's in our soul. It's who we are. With the integrity of our past, we look to build our future and put our hearts into our work to make sure you can do yours.
Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk Energy. We welcome your feedback, your questions. If you have a great topic idea for a future show, email us at letstalkenergy@mauielectric.com. You know, we had an outage on March 2nd. About 18,000 people. You know, one customer out is a problem. 18,000, certainly. I mean, definite concerns on our part, and there were concerns from the community. There were questions that came in. So we want to get some of those questions answered. So here with me today to help to do that, Matt McNeff, who manages our power supply, and Chris Reynolds, who heads up our system operations. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so Chris, walk us through what happened on March 2nd.
Okay, a little bit after 4 p.m., we lost a large unit at our Maui power plant. Kind of caused a domino effect where 2 other units tripped offline, causing a big imbalance between generation and the customer usage. So as a way to save the system, we did a drastic load shedding, which virtually means just cutting customers off. These were circuits basically spread across the island. As generation became available, we were able to pick up a majority of those customers. Unfortunately, at the time, the load was increasing. It was very humid. So at a certain point, we ran out of generation to pick up the remaining 7,000 customers in the upcountry East Maui area.
Okay. So when this load shed mechanism kind of kicks in, one of our customers asked, how come the areas affected were spread out across the island and not just contained to one area?
We try to spread them across the island to, one, minimize the impact of one specific area. And the other reason is we don't pick circuits where there's critical infrastructure on those circuits. Businesses or institutions that provide services to the community, like the hospital, the airport, the harbor, police stations, those we try to keep power to at all times.
Okay, so Matt, during this outage, we let customers know that we were waiting for available generation before we could, as Chris says, before we could bring folks back online, so power up our customers. Available generation, what exactly is this?
Sure. So available generation is just the generation that is ready and can be turned on to serve customers' needs. You know, at any given time, not all of the generation that Maui Electric has is available. Because of the incident, some of the generators had tripped offline, so those weren't available at the time. And then at any given time, Maui Electric is doing scheduled maintenance, or kind of doing overhauls on units, maintaining them. So those units wouldn't have been available at the time either. And then we take things like wind and solar, whatever we can get from there at the time to help serve customers.
Okay, thanks. There was another question from our viewers, those who were affected during this outage. Why did certain areas get their power back on before other areas?
Basically, we can restore power to certain areas remotely from our main office in Kaului. The idea is when we restore customers, we have to match it with the generation that's available at the time. So we usually pick on the circuits, which ones restore first based on what's available in generation. And we did that fairly quickly. Of the 18,000 customers, we got most of those on fairly quickly. It was that last 7,000 customers that were in a large block that we couldn't pick up.
Okay. So, Chris, we also had a question from a customer, and that question had to do with utilizing what's called rolling blackouts. And the question was why we couldn't have used this option, this technique of rolling blackouts. Just explain a little bit about what that is, what exactly a rolling blackout is, and maybe why we didn't do it this time around.
Rolling blackout is basically turning customers off in one area and then turning them back on in another. And we just kind of roll through that area, turning customers off, turning them back on. That was a consideration for that outage. We decided it wasn't advisable to do that. The system wasn't in a steady state per se, and the idea was that if we instigated shutting customers off, we wouldn't be able to bring on any additional customers.
So at the time of the outage, we're also looking into why the generator tripped. So Matt, tell us a little bit about what happened there.
Well, of course. So after the outage, we conducted an investigation into exactly what happened, and we found a faulty lightning arrestor. So a lightning arrestor is basically a piece of equipment that protects the unit and the transformer from should a lightning strike. One of those was bad, and it caused basically a short circuit. And after that, the units that were affected basically shut off to protect themselves. It's designed that way because a unit turning off to protect itself, we can start it up in a couple hours or so. Were it to run and take itself out indefinitely, it could cause a much larger outage.
Yeah, so protective measure of sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Great. All right, so, really appreciate your time. Matt, Chris, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for tuning in to our Maui Electric series, Let's Talk Energy. As part of the show, we really want you to meet the people, so the faces behind the calls, behind the power plants, folks who actually make it work and provide power to Maui County, Maui, Lanai, and Molokai 24/7. In this Getting to Know Miko series, we're introducing you to Kathy Sears Tunkayo, who works at our Molokai power plant. Here's Getting to Know Miko.
Hi, I'm Kathy Sears Tunkayo. I'm a chief operator at the Molokai Division Power Plant, Maui Electric. I've been here 21 years and a few months. I've been here, I first came to Molokai December of '87, it's now March of 2017. I loved it instantly because I was born and raised in a small town in Maine. And when I got into Kanakaka the first time, coming in on a boat, and I thought that I could live here. I married a Molokai guy, and for a long time I would run into kids. My husband worked at one of the grade schools on the island, and the kids got to know me, and they would call me Auntie Kegel. My husband's name is Kegel. If they did, just because that's how we live here, a lot of respect. On a typical day, I might go up Polihua to my brother-in-law's homestead, and we go check the goat population, go check the pasture, make sure there's nothing bad going on with any of the cattle, or he has goats over there. We have some good friends who are aging in place, and you go and help them. We both are active in our church of choice. My husband started dialysis 2 months ago, so that's become part of our routine. So we used to travel a lot and come home and love it even more. We enjoy a simple lifestyle. When I first started here, we had one desk. We had paper logs, and we wrote down everything. And then the first year I was here, we added our 3 newest units. At that time, the federal rules were you added new units, you had to monitor the pollution. So we added a computer that we had to deal with, and some of the men I worked with at that time had been here for 20 years plus, and they didn't know what a computer was. We went from paper logs to now, as you can see behind me, we have all these monitors where we deal with multiple computers. And recently we've added new electronic devices they've invented to control the units that make my job easier, because when we work alone. The goal for me is always that we give heavy electric at good quality that we're giving to all our customers, because modern society is very dependent upon electricity. I'm Kathy Sears Tunkayo, and thank you for getting to know me.
We're back with Let's Talk Energy. So today we talked about generation, and we talked about outage restorations. A customer question came in, and that question was, sometimes the trouble line is busy. Is there any other way to get outage and restoration information? Absolutely. There's something you can actually do right now. You can register for our county notification, our outage notification service. Go to our website at mauielectric.com and sign up to receive outage notifications and restoration updates straight to your smartphone via text or email. Second, follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter at Maui Electric, where we do report outage updates as well. With that, thank you for tuning in. Send us any questions, comments, or definitely topic ideas for a future Let's Talk Energy show. Send them to us at letstalkenergy@mauielectric.com. We will have a new episode air every first Tuesday of the month at 8 p.m. right here on Akaku Channel 55, with episodes rebroadcasting for the rest of the month in this time slot. Mahalo, and see you next time.